justice. Your party needs you now. It's time to step up and get busy and get wicked on them too. Right, you think this thing will come easy? You're fooling yourself. Nah, come easy, them right now. Give up this so easy. And the first step in the journey, comrades, is to win back local government in the next election. When we do that, Jamaica, what's he say? The table turn. We know when the good boy mounted you know, Minister Scandal McCarthy. Everywhere him go, scandal follow him. And he might talk about, yeah man, they love to see me in charge because he knows so we can't win. Yeah man, go and talk them thing there. Go and run up about them way the minister scandal. Come here, go amongst the people, them, and when we talk to people, them know so we're real. I mean, them my heart is with them, and I them will come for stuff. We don't come here so we scream. We don't come here so we get no money over politics. We done make my money already. There are big lawyer in this country, big investment banker, and the whole of them know none of politics. We know business and that. We don't set it already for me and my family. We come here so now to help the people them, and I believe the culture, and build the culture, and build the economy, so it's great, and that's the man.
Yes, sir. Much for joining me today. I'm your host, Michelle Stern. Please let me know if you're hearing me okay. Let me say hi. Let me pick up everybody. You're waiting patiently, but I had to make sure, I found a little mistake. Yes, Lloyd Riley, you're the first to comment. It's morning where you are. Yes, it's afternoon in Jamaica. Hi, David. Morning to you, sir. And then there is Dotlin Lemard. Dotlin, first I'm seeing you. Welcome to Jamaica 411. Then there's Michael. I hope I pronounce your name right. Or is it Michael? Wallace. Hi. Wildfire. First I'm seeing you as well. Welcome. St. Best family. Yes, man. My favorite parish dad. Don't tell them other one, they might have jealous. Yes, man. My favorite parish dad. And then there is Joan. Hi, Joan. And that's Joan Drummond. Then Richard Palmer. Hi, Richard. Laurie McPherson. Yes, man. Josetta Johnson. Hi, Josetta. And Marcia Keane. A staple. Hi. And then there's three Jeffrey. First I'm seeing you, Jeffrey. Welcome. And there's Martin Lawrence and Diplomat. When I used to have the competition, he win everything. Yes, man. Hi, Diplo. And there is Janelle Brown. Hi, Trouty. First I'm seeing you, Trouty. There's change up now, Mr. Vegas. You can't fool me with that suit, Hi, Mr. Vegas. How you do? Lola Bennett. Here, I need to ensure my. If you don't hear. And yes, my visual went, but it will be up again. Internet problem, right? Yes, Bentley, bravo. Hi, Philip Webb. Hi, Philip. And there's Arlene Perrin. Hi, Wife Style Politics. Bless up to you too, my darling. And Donna Archer. Let me see who else. Trudy Lynn. Hi. And there is Elaine Allen. Never mind the visuals. Hope you're still hearing me. And Eva Johnson. First I'm seeing you. Hi. Welcome. Herman Smith. Hi, Herman. Courtney, Jamaica Yardy, LC26. No, man. I'm dyslexic to Rockstone. I see 6270. Listening keenly. Yes, man. Listen good. Listen very good. Because we have to make a decision and we have to ask ourselves some questions today. And we're going to have to be fair because, yes, it's somebody representing the PNP, but what if it was somebody representing the JLP, right? So this is something that we need to discuss. And then there is Jen, come first. I'm seeing you, Jen, welcome. And Mark Wizard, Andrea Spence, hi, Andrea, MDL, and a whole heap more, Lord Kingsley, Easy going high, easy. Commission, and it was not there. I believe that was Friday. Well, somebody MP, and all the way through, and they start class, a man of integrity, and this and that and that, and that is what they're supposed to do. They must sell the donkey that them have, right? Or the horse, as them we think a donkey, but they will think a horse. So that is for them to do, no problem. But our job is to look at the statutory declaration. Now, I don't know what it is the Integrity Commission think that I'm doing. I don't. Frustrated and left, right? I'm not going to be doing Wallace any favors. We have not seen his statutory declaration. That's what, 5 years. It means that we have no access to see what it is that the Prime Minister have in assets, liabilities, and income. Now, some people would think that that would hurt the Prime Minister, and might, but I don't think that there's one Labour Party voter that is not going to vote for the JLP because any of them leader or them MP is not certified. So that is not going to work. But what it has done, what they have, with this foolishness about the FID must investigate, what they have done is screened from public view the Prime Minister's assets, liabilities, and income. In other words, Mark Golding has been certified every year, but yes, we have been able to look at what he has declared and this made some startling discoveries. Andrew Holness may well be, the Prime Minister may well be in the very same position as Mark Golding, but let me remind Mom, the chairman, that in 2025, September, right? And this is despite the fact that the Prime Minister has not been certified, and the opposition leader was making one stink about it, and the people did not bite. Now we have another up to 2030. That's when the next election is due. I suspect the results will be the same. Jamaican people are not willing to believe something unless they see it. So we will continue to screen the Prime Ministers from our public scrutiny with what we go on over there with the foolishness, right? I don't know who no think who no hurting, but I can tell you one thing for sure, it is Mark Golding who is getting the blows. Why? Because he has been certified, and what we are seeing in his statutory declarations is nothing short of shocking. Nothing short of shocking. Now, let me move along and begin. Now, Mark Golding began his career Let me private this. Mark Golding began his career in about 1991, I believe, as an attorney at law for Hart, Muirhead, Fata, and he became a partner, I believe, in 93. Thereafter, he, Peter Bunting, and Chris Dering, he being the attorney, not an investment banker. If you go and look at the Gleaner archives and look back and see when they're declaring their assets, when DB&G is publishing their financial statements, right? Because it's listed on the stock market. So you will see that Bunting and Dering were classified as both as investment bankers. And what you see Mark Golding is referred to by the stock exchange is attorney at law. So he's not and was not an investment banker. He was also the company secretary and a director of Dering, Bunting, and Golding. Started out as a partnership. Now, everybody know about the FinSAC and that they may have profited from what went on in FinSAC, getting a little 1% here and a little 2% there and so on, and heaven knows what else. Others think they may have bought up properties, maybe. I don't know. I haven't found that yet. But where I can tell you for a fact that they made a killing is when they sold DB&G. But what was it that made DB&G so attractive to the Scotiabank? It had something to do with a joint venture between DB&G and FinSAC. It was the only one of its kind. They wanted a merchant bank license and never qualified. And Billy Craig Finance and Billy Craig Merchant Bank, they had, capitulated to all of what was going on, like so many other financial institutions in the 90s, right? So they were bankrupt. Every single other merchant bank and financial house that found themselves in the same position, they were sold, they were asked to surrender their license and so on. But this particular one, evidently, DB&G wanted it. They did not have the money to clear the debt of 200 and something million Jamaican dollars. So somebody somewhere granted them this big favor to enter into a joint venture agreement where FinSAC would put up $148 million and then put up $50 million to buy both, $52 million to buy both Billy Craig Merchant Bank and Billy Craig Finance, right? When they took them over. Oh, and one more thing. Even though they are the minority in terms of money, they were the minority. They put in only 52 million. FinSAC put in the most. They got 51% of the shares, and FinSAC how and what the agreement is about. And hidden that. I don't know why is there in for the 49% shares that FinSAC held. But I do believe that they must have bought it. So Billy Craig turned out to be a very profitable thing for DB&G. They were scraping by and going and making a little money here and there. But now they had some branches, and so did Craig. And Billy Craig not only had a merchant bank license, and that is where they made money. Anybody were doing foreign exchange trading make a lot of money. Yes. So that is what now made DBNG profitable. Now I'm going to show you some very interesting things. The shares of DBNG, and I would recommend anybody that is going to set up a company, follow suit. This was when they talk about brilliant, this is the most brilliant thing that they did to date, in my view. They had shares in DBNG, but the shares were for 10 cents, which meant that you can buy 10 times more with $1. Most shares are sold for $1, right? The nominal price. Then they said 10 cents. So they were able to use a small amount of money to get a whole heap of millions of shares. Brothers and sisters, friends and company, when 2005 came out, Scotiabank decided that they wanted to buy DBNG. And had it been a public company, one stink would have raised. They bought the 10 cent shares each for $21.08. You heard me right. The 10 cent shares was valued $21.08. So this was in October 27, 2006. And I got this from the Gleaner archives. And as you can see by the headline, it was about a 3-page circular that they put out because they were trying to get, they were going to make so much money. They weren't going to make this offer pass. In other words, Scotiabank made them an offer they could not refuse. And they were trying to convince the other minor shareholders to sell, right? Because Scotiabank wanted all of the shares, not just the director shares, all of the shares, 100% of it. So they had to convince the other people to sell. So this was a 3-page, full-page article that was put out in the Gleaner, October 27, 2006. Now, I'm just going to show you, first of all, it says particulars required pursuant to specific regulatory requirements. It says, as far as the board is aware, the number of DBNG stock units owned directly or indirectly by each director, officer, or senior officer and senior manager of DBNG and their associates is outlined below. Top is Peter Bunting. Peter Bunting had 42.9 million shares. He had the most as a single individual, and he owned them directly. Mark Golding had 14.7 million as a direct shareholder, and then he also held 14.1 million shares as well in a company that he is a director in. And I'll show you the name of the company, and I'll show you the evidence of what it is that I'm saying. They have others, but we're not interested in the others, right? Now, I'm switching pages. So here it is now. It says the same thing. Now, it says on October 18, 2006, it's very pale, but I can read it. The parties listed below, and it called it locked up shareholders, entered into a locked up agreement with the offerer, which is Scotiabank, whereby each member of the lockup shareholder group agreed that if the offerer made this offer, that he or it, will accept the bid and no other in respect of the following shares owned by them or over which exercise discretion or control, namely. Now, the reason for this, remember, Scotiabank wanted to buy 100%, and they did not want somebody else to run in and offer them more and then mash up the whole thing. So then everybody signed an agreement that they're going to sell, and it is Scotiabank they're going to sell to, and nobody else. That's my understanding of what this is saying. And so you have the shareholders, you have Peter Bunting, Mark Golding, and then below is a company called Transaction Management Limited. Peter Bunting for 42 million, Golding 14.7 million, and Transaction Management Limited 14.1 million. We're not interested in anybody else. So that was what that is saying. I hope you're hearing me all right. I think you are. Certainly hearing myself. Oh, you're missing out on a lot of information. Tell me where you miss out so I can go back to it. You're hearing all right? You're hearing all right, Donovan Scott? There's a slight delay between the computer and when you get the information. Not clear. All right. Let me put this phone right here where I can get better. Are you hearing better now? Good. So the long and short of what I was saying, let me just recap, is that you have DBNG was being sold. The shares were 10 cents each, the nominal value. When they value the company, right, DBNG, each share valued $21.08. $21.08 for the 10 cents share them, right? And we saw that Bunting had 42 million, Mark Golding had 14.7 million, and then there's a company called Transaction Management Limited that had 14.1 million, and we're going to go to that company. Yes. Good, good. All right. So now I also said that this is showing us what is called a lockup shareholders. In other words, Scotiabank, who was buying the shares, didn't want it to leak out and somebody else come and offer them a higher price, and then them gone. So they entered into an agreement saying that they're going to sell the shares definitely to Scotiabank and not to anybody else. So that is what this was saying in a lockup shareholders agreement, right? Now, we're going now to where it says details of the number of stock units issued to directors and or senior officers DBNG during the last 2 years. That was 2 years before, which would have been 2004. Prior to the date hereof are set out in Table 3, and such shares were issued at par, that is 10 cents per share. Some evidence? Yes. So what happened is 2 years before Scotiabank made them an offer, they had actually issued themselves some more shares. Remember, Bunting had a total of 42. So before that, he would have had about 9 from 42 would be what? 34. So he assigned himself $9.4 million, 9.4 million units. And Mark got 4.7, and so did this other fellow called Garfield Sinclair. Clearly, Bunting had more confidence. And if they all know that Scotiabank was going to offer them $21.08, and probably issue themselves some more shares and make a bag of money. So this now is the position that they were in just 2 years before they issued themselves some more shares, right? Nothing wrong with that, I'm not saying anything wrong with that, just showing you what the share price was at the time to prove my point. Now, so you see here now on the right, it says Mark Golding, Director and Company Secretary, not investment banker. And Peter Bunting was the executive chairman, and somebody called Barclay Ewart, he was a director and chairman of the advisory committee. And this was dated October 24, 2006. So that was that. Let me see what else I have for you. Now, you want to know now, or we want to know, who owns Transaction Management Limited. Now you see over here it says the status is in removal, BO. BO means what they call it again. This is where you're supposed to declare who is the beneficial owner. And it is in removal status, which means, based upon what I saw, that if Mark Golding don't hurry up and go and show them evidence as to who is a beneficial owner, which is him, then in that event, they're going to close it. So there's a new law that was put in place. And many companies are required by law under the Companies Act to sign a form that declares who owns the company, because you have a lot of instances where companies, the shares are owned by somebody else, but it is in another person's name. And then you have the lawyers who, often when you see a lawyer's name in some of these things, they're acting as trustee and not the owner. So they must declare to the Companies Office who is the beneficial owner of these shares. And when you go through, you see a lot of them have this BPO sanction. So for those companies that don't file and return and so on, they might be the ones in trouble. But that is no big deal. He can run in, know that him know if him still using the company, that they need for him to sign the form to say who is a beneficial owner. Beneficial owner mean is who is the person that is behind the company. If for you, no problem. If for somebody else, you must declare. And all of this is secret. Nobody can get that information. That's the deal, right? And sometimes you have companies from abroad that is listed on the registered with the Companies Office, and they want to know who's behind them. And sometimes you have company own the shares of the company, and when you go check out that the company, another company owns the shares, and this now may give rise to money laundering and all kind of illegal activities. And so the Companies Office requires by law that you must declare who's the beneficial owner of the shares that you say you own. You see? Yes. So let us now look to see who owns Transaction Management Limited. Well, first of all, it is a company, see the number and the location, and its core business is management consultant. So they're management consulting business. Now, we don't know if they're actually doing business, because sometimes companies are just holding companies for assets, just to hold the assets, or they are for-profit business, for-profit entities, which means that they are trading and have employees that going around and giving management advice and so on. But we don't know if this actually is a going concern or it's just a holding company. And again, there is nothing wrong with that. You understand? It's legitimate. So that's that. Now, as you can see, we don't have a company secretary here, but where you see the second bracket, circle, I suppose you call it. Yes, you see, as of 24th of February, 1995, the first director is Mark Golding, and you see the address. The second director of the same day is Sandra Golding, his wife. Now, let us now look. That's just a director. And the directors sometimes are not necessarily shareholders. So in order to know who owns a company, you have to know who owns the ordinary shares of that company, right? Yes, you have to know who owns the ordinary shares, because it's the holders of the ordinary shares that owns a company. So let us take a look and see who is that. As you can see, there is, first of all, on the 25th of February 1995, 24th of February, which by the way is when the company was incorporated. That's when they were registered with the Companies Office. The person that is the first shareholder here, her name is Merlene Terrell. I meant to look up to see if she's an attorney, but I've seen her doing other transactions with Mark Golding in it as well. But she has, in the far right, you see where it says ordinary share? 1. So she has 1 share. And then below, you see that Mark Golding, and you look to the far right, he has the other 199 shares. So 200 shares were issued. Tyrell has 1, and Mark has 199. So there is no doubt as to who owns the shares, right? So when the money was paid out, the 14 million, let me tell you what that money was. When that money was paid out, as you can see in Mark Golding's name, he owns 14.7 outright. He would have received 311,699,925 and some change. Now, remember, he is the shareholder, he's a majority shareholder of Transaction Management Limited. So he more or less owns the shares of in DBNG, the 14.1 million, right? And for the Transaction Management Limited, they would have earned from their shares from the sale of DBNG $298 million. Mark Golding is a majority shareholder, and therefore, when you add it up, his interest in it and the money that he received was a total of $609.8 million Jamaican dollars. The company owns 298 million, but he is the beneficial owner. Him own the share then. And that is why all of that money will go to him. Now notice that his wife was a director, but his wife was not a shareholder. So she would not have gotten any of that money by right. If she had divorced him, she would not have been entitled to not even $1. She would have only been entitled to half, of course, because she's a housewife, right? So she would have been entitled to half of his assets. But in terms of owning any of this DBNG share for herself as of right, because she would be a shareholder, she would not have gotten $1, right? There's no divorce, so all of that money would have gone to him, and he would control the money for his family. That is what this basically is saying. So this is where he started. Now remember, they would have gotten this 609 million for him, and Bunting got nearly $1 billion. Bunting had 42 million shares. Now, when Mark Golding got this money from from Scotiabank, remember, he went and became a senator. He was invited to become a senator on the PNP's side in opposition in 2007. So in 2008, when he was filing his first statutory declaration, because he still had to file in those days, he would have declared at least, let us say, never spend $1, that he in that year 2007, which is probably when I got the money, he would have declared that he had received $609 million from Scotiabank for the sale of DBNG. He would have had to declare it. It was public information, right? And couldn't hide it. So for those persons who are saying that he hide up the money, no. We're talking about this specific money where we know about. We're not talking about no other money that he may have. This is the money that he would have declared in his first statutory declaration in 2008. And whatever else he may have earned as a partner of Hart, Murad, and Fata, and whatever other business. But we are focused on this particular money because I do believe that this is the bulk of his fortune. I call it a fortune. Wouldn't you call it a fortune? It worked out to $8.8 million at that time, if you had converted all of it into US, right? I would call that a fortune. I mean, I'd love to get even like 100,000 US and I'd do me well. I don't know about you, but I suspect it would do you nicely too. What you all say? You would call it a fortune as well? Yes, man. Sylvan, hi, how you doing, my darling? Yes, and Jacqueline Thomas. Yes, it's a fortune. So they made a killing by simply selling DBNG. It was a good decision that they made. First of all, to sell those shares to themselves and to the others, the other investors at 10 cents. Right? I don't even want to do the calculation and tell you how much thousands of percent they made on it. So they made a killing. And that was where Mark Golding started when he became a senator. He had a bag of money that he got from the sale, and that is what we're focusing on. Let me see if I have anything else to say here. Now, I think I am done. Yes, and that is the explanation. I gave it to you already. So, what's next? Let us now move on to his Integrity Commission report. Now, let me say this, because we have to decide in our own minds what it is that constitutes a good leader. You will have persons who are not very good business people who make excellent leaders, right? But they have to be able to make sound judgment and put around them persons who can give them good advice. And they have to be people of good judgment. They have to be people who can make a good decision whenever it is that the things, advice is given to them. But when you have somebody who all his life has been a businessman and he has invested and his investment is more or less lost, then you're talking now about this person's judgment. If such a person were ever, if we're not stupid enough to take this man here and put him as Prime Minister of Jamaica, how will he be able to make sound judgment about things to do with poor people? Look at this hurricane. Would he have had the capacity to make good judgment with regards to this hurricane that just passed? Right? Never mind what he's saying in the house. Mouth make for chat. It's when you're there in the hot seat and you must now make the decision. You cannot even make sound decision about your own fortune that you made. Are you in a position to make sound decisions in this very complex thing? Fear is a small things, sir. Very small things is. When you talk about Jamaica, you're talking about over 100,000 people employed to the government, whether through the ministries or through the government bodies. You're talking about nearly 190 government bodies, right? And then you have the ministries and departments. And all of that has to be managed, right? This is not just DBNG where you're a lawyer advising your partners about, commercial or negotiating. Or this is something quite different. This is you with the concentration, and that's another point. You're talking about a concentration of power. This is a system that we run in the hands of a prime minister. There is a high concentration of power in the hand of the prime minister. And therefore, if you put somebody there that is not capable of making sound decisions, he can't do it for himself. I don't know why he can do it for us, right? Then what then would happen to the country? You remember during the debate, he wanted the government to let go the money during COVID and spend $40 billion in care packages. You remember that? And wanted the government not to carry on with the strict control of the finances that would eventually give us a fiscal space so we can do other things, right? And you also heard him in other instances where he's making some suggestion that make no damn sense. poor judgment. Having got this 8.8 million US dollars, what did Mark Golding put it in? Because if it was in the bank, he would not have lost anything because no bank no close unless he had it in SSL, and we haven't heard that. So if he had just left it in the bank, he would have been growing interest. Yes, he would have been losing value because of inflation, but at least he would have been having more money, not less. And we know that not all his money is in the bank. He has money tied up in shares. So whatever he's putting his money in, it costing him every year. And this year, it looked to me like it's the worst. Sound judgment. And this is what the Integrity Commission, many of you would think that them favor him. Well, I don't know about that, right? He gets a prop for the fact that his statutory declarations are, in order. But then it exposes him to our scrutiny and realization that this man is losing money, right? Now, let us move now along to the statutory declarations. So let me make it big so I can read it. So this now is a statutory declaration that was gazetted on May 26, 2026. And you see how long it took the Integrity Commission to upload it to their website. I don't know why that is so, but they need to shape up. Now, it speaks to his income, his assets, liabilities in Jamaican and in US dollars. He has ditched his assets, his security in pound, and he has ditched the one in euro because he was losing. The currency conversion was making him lose money, so get rid of them. And of course, as usual, he has been getting this whopping investment. He's been getting this whopping income on his he's still getting this whopping security income on his US dollars securities that he has. This year, 2024, he declared 379,000 US dollars in securities. And on those securities, as at the balance of the 31st of December 2024, he declared that he had an income on this investment of $279,000. That's very high, but that's what he said, right? Now, when we take a look, I'm going to do an analysis now. So let us, look at it and compare it to 2023. Here it is, 2023, and all the summaries. And there you go. He has, this is his US income, and above it, you see the income. This is the income, the assets and liabilities for US, and above that, it's for euro. And he only had securities in euro, which is 9,761. I hope I'm not confusing you, no. When you rob poor people, my dear friend, my friend, I'm telling you, bound to come back to upon you, eh? So let us now scroll along. So I'm showing you all of what it is that we're doing. So what we're going to be doing in this segment is we're going to be looking at his 2024 statutory declaration, compare it to his 2023 statutory declaration. Then when we started seeing his statutory declaration in 2021, and we want to see how he has fared 4 years later, whether he has been doing well or he has lost money since then, right? Or assets. Yes. So here we go. Now, we begin with the income. This is the analysis, Mark Golding statutory declarations 2023 and 2024. So first of all, if you look at the first line, it speaks to his salary. In 2023, which is the second column, he received a salary of, or he declared a salary of 31.8 million. And as you can see, in 2024, he declared 25 million. That is his parliamentary salary, which means that if the salary that he got before was from Hart, Muirhead and Fattel, his law firm, in which he's a senior partner, it meant that he never get no salary. Maybe they're not doing well, or for some reason they were late with paying him. So it never get no money that year. So this is only his parliamentary salary that he got. So he lost $6.6 million in income. When you look at the security income, he gained a little bit, $267,000 in 2024 over 2023. And his other income, now in 2023, he had an income of $36.9 million in other income. So we don't know what that is, but it's not covered by anything that the Integrity Commission statutory declaration has that he must declare. So if you get an income and it's not specified, then it goes under other income. Only in the Integrity Commission they will know what that is, and if he volunteers to tell us, we don't know what it is. But in 2023 he had 36.9 million, but in 2024 that fell by $24 million, so he made a loss on that. When you take into consideration his total income in Jamaican dollars for 2023, he had earned 70.5 million Jamaican dollars. But in 2024, right, that dropped to 39.8, which meant that he lost $30.6 million in income, and that is on the Jamaican side. Now we need to convert them to US. We are going to have to convert from Jamaican to US or US to Jamaican so we can total it up, because two different currencies. So I put what the total is in Jamaican, and when I take what he had in 2023, what he earned, he lost $197 million. Sorry, 197,000 US dollars, right? When we convert to US. Next step now is his US income. In the US income bracket, he has only security income. And in 2023, he had made 324,000 US dollars, and in 2024, that fell by 45,000 US dollars. He made less. So this is the reason why, he made all this loss. When you convert the Jamaican income into US so that we can make a better comparison, in 2024, he would have earned, if he had converted everything to Jamaican, $539,000. Now the exchange rate that we use for 2024 is the buying rate, average buying rate for that year, which was $155.65. And we said buying because if he had bought US, that is the average price that he would have gone for it. So we have to use that one and not the selling price. You understand? Yes. Let me make sure so I have to keep checking it up. Then now, he lost 45,000. Now it's said that in 2023, when you convert the 70 million into US and add it to what he had earned in security income, he would have made 777,000 US dollars. And when you minus that now from what he lost, when you minus the 777,000 from what he declared in 2024, he lost 238,000 US dollars, or 38.3 million Jamaican dollars. And that is on his income, right? We're going to look now at the assets, because your income can be up and down, but if you have your house and you have your car and you have all your assets, then, you're still in good stead. When you look now at the assets, and I have to come a little closer, or maybe bring the glasses a little closer, look at the savings account in 2023 and the current account. You'll see that there was a decline from 946,000 in 2023 to 654,000. So he had 291,000 decline. In the current account, there was a decline of $1 million. So, and this, by the way, these are closing balances as at the end of the year. So we don't know what transaction took place during the year, but when he went and got his statement, this is what it would have been as at the 31st of December, 2024. So when you look at it, and I hope you can see it well, the others remain the same, and then the shares that we assume that he had in Rerun. Rerun is a company that is owned by Omar Newell. And at the time, there were 4 shareholders. Newell, you had Bunting with 25 million shares, Golding with 25 million shares, and somebody from foreign with 25 million shares. All of them came out and leave Newell. And this lawyer fellow called Christopher Henry is another PNP candidate in the last general election. So they are the only 2. So he no longer has shareholdings in Rerun, right? So that's how he ended up now losing that $25 million for the 2024. Then now, when you look now at the total assets in Jamaican dollars, in 2023, he had $165 million in assets. And by 2024, the following year, he had lost, $23.4 million, and he ended up with $142 million. So he lost assets. So he lost income, lost assets, and when you look at the US side, it's the same thing. On the US side, he had, at the bottom where it says total, he had $995,000 the year before in 2023. And the following year, he ended up with $908,000, which meant that he lost $86,000 US. And the long and short of it was, if I can get this thing out of the way, yes, when you take the whole shebang and convert it into US, in 2024, Mark Golding declared assets of $1.8 million. What was it the year before? $2,260,000. So he lost, let me see how much that is, $223,000 US. What does this mean? Remember where he started. He started at $8.8 million US, or 609 million Jamaican dollars. And where did he end in 2024? He's declaring that he has, of that money that he would have declared from the very beginning, only 1.8 million US left, or 281 million Jamaican dollars. You can do the maths. When you have money, when you buy food and clothes and those perishable things and those good personal things, it's not part of the assets. When you buy car and house and land and securities and bonds and all them things, that those things are assets. So you can convert your cash, which is an asset, into something tangible, and it remains an asset in a different category. The only way you can move from $8.8 million US down to $1.8 million US is because whatever it was that you invested in, you lose a whole heap of money. We know that Mark Golding is not a generous man, so him couldn't come convince nobody saying give away that money. But I believe him. So when he said that he came into politics not to scrape, bearing in mind that they were scraping from the beginning and got this fortune. They got lucky and made a fortune. And we don't bad mind them, we're happy for them. Matter of fact, we're not very happy to be telling you that this man is not doing well because it affects the family, the wife especially. When I'm saying don't come to scrape, in come to serve people, and your finances is in them the condition them answer, and you not left politics because sort it out, which is what everybody else do, especially in opposition. But then if he had done that, he would not have had $25 million in salary. What would have been his income for the year? Is the condition that he would have been in. So here we have somebody who started out declaring that he had $8.8 million after the windfall that they got from the sale of the shares of DB&G. And in 2024, he might declare him only have $1.8 million left out of it. It is not, he couldn't eat that. And we know him not buy clothes and shoes and all them things there. And him don't change the car, then the car value is the same. And him don't own a house in Jamaica. He owns a piece of land in Portland, and him own an apartment in Florida. And the house that he's living in is owned by a company that what's that company called now? Tajibe, right? Where is the money? I wrote to the Integrity Commission and pointed out to them that this man is claiming saying getting this whole heap of money, and yet it is not there and keep making a loss. Them don't see anything in it. So I guess them went through and checked and said, oh well, we know where the money come from, so all is well. So therefore, whatever it is that he put the money in, he might lose it. That's what this is saying. So far from being a man that is wealthy and rich with a fortune, and he don't need to come into politics to scrape, that is not true. He need the politics, because without the politics, he would not have had $25 million. He would have lose more than what he have here now. You follow what I'm saying? Now we know him have money tied up in Proven and possibly in Tajibe and elsewhere. But where did the money go? This is not a big, well, he might be a big lawyer, but he certainly is not a good businessman. And that is what the Integrity Commission fortunately put out, so that we can know that this is not a businessman. The man has lost his fortune and it dwindling. Now imagine in another 10 years, this is after 18 years. What if him live another 10 years? What will become of them? I mean, 1.8 million and not to sneeze at, that can buy one nice fabulous house up in a Cherry Gardens or in one of them places. And the money done. So don't think it's a whole heap of money. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, a lot more. I mean, I could have done it some myself. But it is definitely not looking good. The question we must ask ourselves, is this man fit to be in the position that he is in, given the fact that him can't make money? Man can't make money to fall ET. The man invest and losing him shirt, and not for help with him leave the politics and go sort out in personal business, right? Because politics is where him hope to regain him fortune. Everybody say Jamaica corrupt, and everybody say politician thief, right? So them say it means that the opportunity is there for you to become rich if you're a thieving politician, right? And that is what him and Bunting, in my view, gone in politics for. Well, Bunting want to become prime minister, but we're not going in politics for. His fortune was dwindling. Probably as soon as he got it, what did he invest his money in? Bad business. He's a bad businessman. Now I'm trying to see something, right? Now, I'm looking here now at the summary. The total income compared to 2021. So the first time we would have seen his statutory declaration was 2021. And it says that in 2021, his income that he had declared that year was 21 million. And in 2024, it is now up to 39 million. So he gained 18 million over the period. When you look at his total assets, it moved in 2021 from 117 million to 142 million. He gained 25 million in over the period. And then the insurance went down a bit. That is the value of the insurance. I think he has insurance into some instrument that that will go up and down. And then when you talk about the US income now, that is where the problem is. In 2021, I don't think this is correct. In 2021, it's supposed to be 579,000 that he declared as security income, not 324. And so he would have made a bigger loss than what I have here, right? Now in 2021, his asset, which I took off the Integrity Commission's summary, was 1.3 million in 2021. And I think the Prime Minister's one was 1.2 million US. His was 1.3. And in 2024, his assets in US dollars is 908,000. He lost 417,000 on his US dollar assets, both in the accounts as well as the security investments. So when it comes to the US dollar investments, when you convert that 417,000 US, it works out to 64.9 million, right? That's what he lost over 2021. And here is a man talking about the Prime Minister is not fit because him assets are declared. But we could see what the Prime Minister was doing up to 2021. And I always said, and I've said, and I say it again, that the Prime Minister is a hustler. He was a poor fellow and him hustling, he moved money here and he moved money there. He moved money out of his savings account and put it in the current account. Why would you do that? Yeah? And that was at the balance. You must have been getting a return on that investment. Some banks pay a higher premium for current account balances, right? Probably trying to encourage people not to spend, right? So move money around. We don't know what has been going on since, except for the Integrity Commission's report. We were able to see some extracts, I do believe, from 2022, the investigation report. Remember that? Yes, so we're able to see something about 2022 and 2023, but we don't know what happened in 2024. Right? So the man not going good at all. Now, when we look now, let us look now at his losses. Let's see. Okay. I see. I can't see myself. I was wondering why I'm not seeing myself. I'm sure you're still hearing me. So the forlorn-looking fellow has every reason to be. Here now is the state of his finances when the sale of the BNG, Derren Bunting and Golding, took place in 2006. He made 311 million. The company for which he's a major shareholder made 298 million. Matter of fact, you'd say he's the only shareholder. The other person has only one. He had 199. The total was 609 million. The exchange rate meant that it is 8.8 million US dollars. That would have worked out too. And Bunting one is at the bottom. He had 42.9 million shares. and his one work out to $905 million, nearly $1 billion. And calculated into US, he would have had 13 million. So he was better off than the Englishman. But when you look now at his losses over that 18-year period, because it's 2024 we're looking at, he started declaring 8.8 million US or 609 million Jamaican. And in 2024 declared $1.8 million, which meant over the period he lost 79% of the fortune that he had made when DBNG was sold. 7 million US dollars. Or if I convert it, let me see what it worked out to. It worked out to hold on now. Oh, let me see. I didn't minus it. 320 million. 320 million US dollars was what he had declared in 320 million Jamaican dollars was what his declared in 2023. But when you look at what he lost, you're talking about 281 million Jamaican dollars. That was what he declared, equivalent in today's money. And he declared 320 million, which meant that he lost 39 million over the period. You're talking about 79. Let me do a quick calculation because I realized I didn't do it, and tell you how much Jamaican dollar he lost when you minus that 600 and I want to, quicker than me. You think no quicker than me? I think so. All right. Let's do that now. Who clearly has made some bad choices in terms of where he puts his money. He's a stingy man, not a generous man. And therefore, when you see him lose money this way, it has to be bad investment. And if it isn't, let him tell us how come he is today declaring 1.8 million Jamaican dollars. I don't know what's wrong with my tongue today now. How is it that he's declaring 1.8 million US dollars in 2024? And you can imagine 2025, it may be better, it may be worse, but it has been steadily declining since 2021. We have noticed it and been talking about it. Let Mark Golding come and tell us, how is it that he started out with 8.8 million US dollars and 20 years later, him down to, well, 1.8 million? He lost 7 million US dollars in investment. So when you talk about, come to scrape, that is not true. If you don't come to scrape, Mark Golding, it means that in 2030, were the people stupid enough to put you there, it means now is another 5 years perhaps to 2035. That's another 9 years of losses where you would end up by that time if you don't come to scrape. If you don't come to scrape, it means that you're going to go down maybe to below 900,000 US dollars. And if the people stupid enough to put you back there again, let us say you manage to win again, if them daft enough to put you there in the first place, what will you have left? if you don't come to scrape, you will have nothing. So I don't buy your argument. And you guys, you can tell me in the comment section whether you think him not come to scrape. Why would he stay into something where I'm losing money continuously? Where I'm going to have this heap of responsibility. Him not no responsibility now, and him will lose money. So you can imagine were he to be government, how much more he would be losing if him not come to scrape. So he said in that clip that him come to help Jamaica and help the Jamaican people. I suggest to you, Mark Golding, you go and go help yourself. Because look to me like you're in some big, deep doo-doo with your finances. Can be a nice thing to have so much and have it being flitted all away, and you clearly don't know what to do about it. You are a private citizen. You're going to parliament once. You have a safe seat. You don't have to do so much work. You have all the time in the world to go and attend to your own affairs. The parliament allows it. Even though you're collecting $25 million, it allows it, and yet you're not able to solve your own problem. Why should we believe you can solve ours? From 8.8 million down to 1.8 million US dollars. And you say you come to help poor people. And you obviously can't help your damn self. Folks, tell me what you think, because this thing looks sticky. This man clearly is not fit to be leader. How can you be fit to be leader when you can't even deal with your own problem? You had a fortune and you wasted it. That's not long and short of it. How many of you my subscribers would have loved to have $8.8 million now? What you don't do with it? You don't invest it. But you don't make sure so you put it into something. Right? And if it's something that you put it in is not earning you, then you come out it and go into something else. Maybe that's what he was doing and he keep losing because his judgment is poor. What else could it be? If them going to complain and say, yeah, a 609 million in start out. Yes, him start out there, but he end up with now 281 million. Explain that. And him come now because him is a white man, a Bakra, a Jewish man with a British background, and his father was a sir, right? And him come now to tell us that for we black man where we have their thief. Him come for scrape because him poor, because him come from humble beginnings. It naturally means that he has a greater propensity to come to scrape. That was his argument, When in fact, look on Donald Trump have money, he must scrape like hell, because I don't know nobody who have money that don't want more. But you see them think we're simple-minded and we wouldn't understand these things. They think that we would say, okay, so, we have a whole heap of, he has a whole lot of money and we don't have none, and him have enough money, so why would he steal? You don't have to know why. But here is the evidence, right? Him come to scrape. He needs to scrape. Because if you were to put him there and him get 28 million a year and just get a few dollars more, he would now not be able to pay attention to his own business, which means that the loss would even be greater. I wonder if you understand what I'm saying. So he must have known that. He's not that dumb. So how is he going to mitigate against the financial loss? How is he going to restore his fortune? A politics he won't come in, can do it. Right? So we thank the Integrity Commission, and we're happy that he was not on the investigation and Uno come out with it, because had you not come out with the statutory declaration, we would not have known how poor a businessman he is. We would know. How we would know that? Who was going to tell us? So the certification, what the certification actually proves is that Mark Golding does not have a head for business. And Jamaica, the country, is a mix of household and business. Without political favors, these boys cannot make any money. That's what them literally telling us. And since him in the hot seat, so we get to know now what his financial state is. So this is what I brought to your attention. Now, them have the Prime Minister's statutory declaration locked up in the FID and said they're not going to certify unless the FID, I suppose, investigate. Well, it's nearly 2 years now. What the FID is doing, I don't know. But the Prime Minister remains the Prime Minister, and he's likely to remain the Prime Minister for another 4 years. And his statutory declaration is obscure. Nobody can see anything on it and criticize him. And next year, or sometime during this year, Mark Golding's other one will come out and we will see where in finances reach. So I want us to think on these things and ask ourselves the question, and the PNP is the one that need to ask themselves the question, whether or not they think that this is the most appropriate person to be put into Jamaica House. Because that is them aim. They want to put him in a Jamaica House. Is he the most appropriate person? You have lawyers, you have doctors, you have all sorts of people, but in his chosen field, business, he's a failure. So why you think him going to succeed being Prime Minister of this country? Uno find somebody else, but them in a business we don't know. Right? Whole uno under tent now, so I can stay. So that is what I wanted to bring to your attention. Right? I want your opinion. I want to create a poll and ask so you guys can, come out and tell us what your opinion is on this, because it's a very serious matter. Do you agree? Yes. Anyway, I've kept you long, so let me sign off. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please remember to share the live, or it will become a video at some point. And if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and leave your comments. And I see that you've been doing so nicely. So until next time, take very good care of yourselves and walk good.